So when I go to my process and I session a bunch of information, I have that content in session still here in my index page. Before I unset it, I can set here a value to equal to the PHP print of each one of those specifically. Like session, oops, of, actually I haven't sessioned that information, have I? So process, when I sent it here, before I redirect, I can just say the session of user login info is going to equal to the post. Right? I'm putting the post array into the login info session. Right? So if I come here, I think you guys got it. What I'm doing.
Actually, I don't. Post is just so you.
I'll show you. I'll var dump this, see what it is. So I session, I came back with it now. Whoops. Wait a minute. There we go. All right, we got an error. Something is wrong. Oh, here. What is that? What is that? It's nothing. Okay. All right. So let's var dump to see what I sessioned as login info. Login info is null. So if I typed in an email and submit, why is it doing that? Oh, because I'm only checking. Yeah, I'm only checking. Oh, because it has to be an empty. So I'm going to put something in name, but I'll leave email empty so it gives me the error. So that post data I sessioned into user post, whatever it was, user
So it
info.
just becomes.
Yes, it's under that array now.
Would it just be session, whatever name you use there? What did you use?
Yeah, now I can just call login info. Now I can just call on that key of login info. So I'm looking for email. So let's say email and see what email is. Email is an empty string. Excellent. What about name? And let's just say here I had a name. Name is that name I typed in, which means that I can follow this pattern and print that inside of the value of each one of those inputs. And that is a way to just move it back and forth between one to another. So in the value here, we can say print the name. Whoops, I think I put it in the wrong place though. And that's for email. And you'd follow the same pattern for email, not password, right, but everything else. So I'm going to keep email empty just so I can have an error so I can come back, because this is dependent on errors. And there's the name still. And there's the name still. But in this moment right now, I have no session. So if I change this, it resessions that to this new string.
Which is good.
Right, because also if I refresh this page, they all go away.
You go back to the code for a second.
Yep.
That was so much better than what I did.
Yeah. That's what I watched after you. Yeah, I was like, all right.
Go to the PHP side.
Yep.
So if you say session login info, you're creating an array that will include all of the posts.
Exactly.
All of them.
Otherwise, if I just did this, I would override my session.
Right.
Which later on I'm going to have an ID in there, and I never want to do that. If somebody's logged in and this is for some other purpose, I don't want to override things that I have.
Sure.
And that's why you would do it this way, sure. But seeing how the user was not a valid user, after I do all my errors, printing and everything, I can just destroy the session and tell you, hey, you're starting from fresh.
If you destroy that session at the top, I don't understand.
If I destroy the session from the top, all of my session variables are.
Right, everything's gone.
That's right.
So how does he do it?
I'm not sure. We'd have to look at it. I don't remember it.
I think he saves it like so, but a variable that
Hmm.
exists on the page.
Yeah. Oh, right. Because it reduces the size of these things in that case. Because I could take this whole thing and put it up there and set it to a string of value email or value name and just print here value name. And value name, if it's set, it prints red. And if it's not set, it prints an empty string. Same thing. It's cleaner down here, more code, preference. In reality, you'll be using frameworks, so it'd be a little different anyways, so it's not a big deal. It's not something to get hung up on. But as long as you understand you can do either or and why you can do either or, that's the most important thing. Are we recording? Yes, we are. Okay. So this is collect errors, and this is if errors exist. And this will be else.
When it comes up, can you go over if you've sent a password to your database encrypted, and then I'm trying to log on, the password doesn't match up because it's encrypted? How to draw that back? Do you know what I mean? Like I'm saying, I just registered someone with the password and it's encrypted with that something else. And then and so now when I go to log in with user and passwords aren't matching.
Are you also encrypting it when you're logging in?
You have to re-encrypt it.
Yeah, you'll get the password.
That doesn't do just a random.
Correct. It's not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Unless you use crypt, I think, and then you use a hash key, but then you always save the hash key. It's like a pattern. I'm going to randomize all this stuff with this pattern. So as long as I always remember the pattern, I can just do it 10,000 times, right? Like it doesn't matter. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so just let's say this is for registration. If there are no errors that exist, this is where we'll save the user in the database. And this is what we have to do, right? We have to create a query. First of all, do we have the connection page yet? We don't. We don't have it included. So on the top here, is it require or is it include? Include.
Required.
Does it require? Require.
But not require once.
They're very similar. If you read up on them, they're very similar in how they act. So there's just a bunch of, I don't know, they go on forever on Stack Overflow, why one's better than the other and how they're different, but they work. Requires enough. Because this, if I copy all of this and paste it in the very top line, that's the same thing. If I do that, it's the same thing, very much. Okay, so now let's call the database and save this user as logged in user, right? So we're going to say the query is going to equal to a string. And we could do either of two ways. We can either create the string here and test it, or we can just go here and just type in the string and test it on the spot. Insert into users the values I want. Name, email, password. Created at, updated at.
Hey, Sparrows, before you move forward, I ran into this a lot. So name and password apparently are keywords of some sort, because it's in a different color. At that point, do you know you're going to have to put the table name in there?
No, it still should work actually.
It should.
Yeah. I'll double check, but I think it'll still work. Now, the pattern is values. You can just Google this. It's not really something you need to remember. Just need to know how to do this. And the values, I'm just going to hard code the strings. Name, James. Email, j@j.com. Password is password. And then the now function is going to translate to the numbers of the date. And the now function here is going to translate to those dates. So I'm going to execute this. One row is affected. I'm going to look at my users. He's on there. And he's dated and everything's set, right? Awesome. So I can, oh my God. Intermission.
Where's the wine?
Good Lord. It's not even in there. Oh my God. Whatever. We're going to just fix this.
What are you looking for?
Well, right now it's kind of frozen up. So we'll give it a minute.
It may have spread the virus.
Why do we need now twice?
What's that?
Why did we need now twice?
Oh, because it's for created at and updated at. I just store both at the same time. That's nice. We're just going to fix that real quick. I should have saved it on the clipboard, but that's okay. Well, so we know that's working, so let's just hard code it here since we know it's working. Insert into users the name, email, password. Created at, updated at. If it's hot in here, we can open the door, by the way. So values, just in case anybody wants to. And the values are going to go here. Email, password, name. Now is the created at. And now is the updated at. Cool. So we know what kind of data this is. This is post data coming in with a post of email, name, and password, right? Those are the keys we passed. And we can always check because we can var dump the post here. And die here. Oh, that's good, that's working now. So whatever that is, whatever that is, whatever that is, whatever that is. Submit. And
Later on, would there be tools for tracing this kind of thing?
what's that? What kind of thing?
Like I just remember in DB, they had this tracing where the code was going. Like if something was erroring out, I didn't necessarily have to use die every time I could scan through the code.
No, not that I know of, unless you use a IDE, like an actual program that does it.
So is that something we may eventually?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. So we're process. We don't know if we got to this point. We don't know if we're even getting to this point.
The password always clears out.
No, what's going on here?
Just checking if they're only empty.
Of course, a semicolon as usual. It was a semicolon. Okay.
Did you not share your errors back on? Because if we do that, we would see all sorts of errors.
I didn't. That's okay. It's more of a reason to know where we're going in every single line because
Yeah.
I can't rely on the errors. But so this is posting me all this information. So it's posting me the post that has in it action, email, name, password, confirm password. I need email, name, and password. So I can just go in here and hard code if need be. Escape strings for the post of email. Actually, first one is name, so this has to be name. Email and password, right? Email goes there. Password goes
So
there.
the syntax is a quote, curly brace
Yes.
to begin. And
Yep.
curly brace quote to end.
Yep, that should do it. And we'll double check to make sure. How we double check is after the query after we inserted all the variables in the query, we can var dump the query or echo it and then die here, just so we can see what it looks like after I put all the content into it, which is going to be this. So I can just copy this whole thing with the variables already into it and put it in SQL when it doesn't crash and execute that function, and then one row is affected. So in the tables, under users, I should have a secondary user. There it is. And that was inserted by us. So since I know that's working, I don't need to var dump, I don't need to die, I need to actually run the query. And that's through the connection page. We need to run the run my query function that will run the query. So run my query and run the query. Cool. And after it's done run the query, no matter what, I want it to no longer stay in registration, redirect back to the wall in this case. Well, that's not true. Let's redirect it back to index.php and then have him log in, right? I'm going to refresh this, and here I am. So I may even have a third user because this is the third time I refresh that page. So if I look at my users, Oh, no, I didn't. Okay, that's good. So j@j.com password, right?
Can you talk about those brackets when you get a chance?
Which ones?
When you have to use those brackets?
These?
Yeah.
So the first single quotes on the outside is saying that I'm entering into SQL a string. The brackets are saying I escape this thing, whoops, escape the inside of the bracket stuff, which is this part right there, and know that that's going to be a variable. So evaluate the variable for me. That's all it does.
So anytime you're using it as a variable in PHP, you should have it in brackets? Or is this just SQL thing?
In SQL, no. Anytime you're using a string and you want inside of that string a variable to be defined and show you the value of it, use the brackets as long as the outside quotes are double.
So this is simply, okay, I see, it's just a way for it to keep track of.
This is the same thing as doing this.
It's a way to break out of
Yeah,
that.
it's the same thing, but the different method of doing the same, what I'm doing there. Which
So
is,
it's to escape.
it's to break the string so I can put a variable inside of it. That's simply it.
That's what escape means?
Yep, well, escaping, well, kind of. I guess I would just name it, that's the way to concatenate that variable inside of that string in that spot. So you can put it together.
Okay, but most of the time it's gonna be in SQL queries that we're gonna run into that kind of thing, or is that?
Yeah, it'll be just like you see it here. It'll be just like you see it here.
You know, one of the lessons, the way I was doing it was shoving all those into individual variables.
That's what I did.
Right above that.
Oh, sure.
Like email equals post
Sure.
email.
Sure.
And then make the select statement easier
Yes.
to read, but that's less code certainly.
Yeah, and your way is actually the right way. We'll do it later, but we'll do it later because I want to show how you do SQL injection. And
Oh, this prevents that part.
when you do that, you can run a real escape string and prevent that part. But then you can still do script injection. So we'll talk about that as well. Okay, so let's just do the login real quick. We need to just query the database for the data that we'll send to it. So I'm gonna run a little faster here, the query. So select all from users where name, no, we don't even do that. Email is equal to the email and password is equal to, do we need an and sign or comma? I think it will either work, right? And password is equal to, so the question marks, we'll talk about it later. We'll just hard code the actual post information here, just like we did last time. It's a string, and inside of the string, I'm going to use the escape characters. And here, I'm going to put the post of email. Same thing with the password. It's going to be a string. Inside of the string, I'm going to use the escape characters to evaluate the post of password. So I can get the actual string inside of that. Semicolon, as usual, is missing. There it is. So there's a query. And we need to, that was the run, and let's just find out which query we need to run to fetch record, a single result. So fetch record for this query. And I want the result to equal to that, correct? So if result is true, meaning I got a record back, this is where I'm going to say login. Successful, or you want to call it, yeah. Else, this is where I can put, as a matter of fact, the wall is going to be logging in here. So if it logs in, goes straight to the wall page. Otherwise, I want it to, whoa, I need to do that. Not to die anymore, but I want it to header still, location, index.php. So far, I have not sessioned any information, right? So there's no worry about me having to worry about session information. But if the user tried to log in and he failed to log in, and we sessioned something on the way in, we would probably want to get rid of that, destroy session. You know, later on, we may actually want to check to see how many times he's done this. So maybe we keep a session of that user to see how many times he tried to log in. Over 5 times, we can disallow this user to even query the database anymore, to make attempts to see if the login works. That would go to the else statement here.
On the query where you're checking if the email matches the password,
Mm-hmm.
can you just explain that real quick?
Yeah, so I'm saying select all the users, or I mean, I should say select all of the columns. Like, you bring back all the columns.
So this is after all the, like, you logged in, your information got sent
No,
to the database.
this is when you're trying to log in, and I'm trying to see if I can pull you from the database to see if the matching result comes up.
matches.
So there's,
Like-
there's stuff in the database.
Yes,
It's
yeah.
in it, and now we're trying to,
See if we're
we're
in
trying to log in.
Yeah. We're saying, hey, in the database,
Okay.
can you find me a record where my email is what I typed in and my password is what I typed in? If
Okay.
both of these are in the same record in my database, retrieve me that user and put him into results. Actually, so this should be result, yeah. And if the result is true, that means that the user is alive. So now I can session. I can either session the entire information to be the result of that, or to keep it more organized, I'm going to say user. I'm going to set that to be the result. Does that make sense? So this is the object that came back from the database of the user. And I'm going to put him in one part of my session, not an entire session. I'm going to put it in the session of user. I'm going to put all this stuff into it, which means that if I later on want to call on the user's ID, it would start as user, and then I would call on its ID. Or on the user and its name. Or on the user on its password, whatever. Seeing the,
Result will hold all of that.
yeah.
All of it. So it becomes an array even though you're not really defining it.
It is an array from the data from connection.php. This is actually generating an array.
Oh, that's a special variable.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
My fetch associate, I believe, is actually generating as an array. So let's see. We have result. We have the user. Here is something probably good to just do regardless. Might not be needed, but we'll do it anyways. So if somebody logged in j@j.com, password was password. Oh, maybe that's not it. Let's check the database. j@j.com, password, right? Let's make sure this is working. Okay, j@j.com, password. And password is equal to password. So let's run that in here. Yeah, we get a record, right? So we know that that's working. Let's get rid of this. All right, let's get rid of it together. The result, let's var dump the result. Down here. Notice I'm doing it step by step. That's really the way to do it, I think. Null. The user coming back is null.
So that means it is not set.
My issue is, yeah, right there. Right? I don't need to check anything else. I already know where my issue is at. So what the heck's going on here? I'm going to use the fetch all. I don't know why the fetch record's not working.
So things like a single item.
Yeah. I don't know why it's not working, but let's just use the other one.
Is there a way to, the query itself, it shows everything, right?
Yeah. Select all from users where email is equal to email and password is equal to password.
You still have the headers and exits in there?
Yeah.
They're not commented out?
Yeah, but I should still see a result. Am I spelling that right? No.
The video on some fetch record, but
What about escape the string before
Ooh. No, it shouldn't make a difference, right? Let's try that. Sorry, jumping around a little bit. Let's try that. Empty. Why is missed that. What's going on? Oh,
That's running.
no, that's not why. In our connection page, did we ever tell it what to look at?
Wrong database.
Wrong
database.
Never forget
So,
that.
so it's throwing some records in your user table in that particular database.
How is it? Oh, we hard coded that.
Oh.
That's why it was working. And when I mentioned that it should have done it third time, I was like, oh, I guess it didn't do it, but I should have been like,
Catch that by going there.
what's that?
You
That's
just-
the wrong database.
Oh, that's another thing to think
Ever
about though.
wider
That's,
circles.
when it comes to that point, you're like, okay, this is not working. This is not working. Is it even going to the right place? You know, like it's just a
So that's why you segment it so well, so that if something goes wrong, you know it,
Yeah.
not 2 days from now.
right. Absolutely. Hey, look at that.
There you go.
It's there. Cool.
And it'll still work if you do,
Insert.
instead of fetch rec, oh, you changed it.
I did. I put it back to fetch record for sure. Absolutely. So let's get rid of all this stuff and let's look at it again. Awesome is still there because it went to the if statement of true, which means that it logged them in. Let's just check real quick. If I did nothing, right back to logout. I mean, right back to it. Notice how it's not going anywhere. But if I put here j@j.com password, it's taking me to that part. Awesome, that's working. So I don't need this stuff anymore. I can see this and look at what it is. ID, name, email. Notice how there's password here? I don't want that to be retrieved. So ideally, I would just make sure my select statement does not retrieve password. So select name, email, ID first. ID, name, email. Do I need anything else? No, right? So that's all I'll pull. So when I run this, oh, I don't have it stopping anymore. j@j.com password. There it is. All I get now is ID, name, and email. I'm not even pulling the password from the database. I'm just checking to make sure it's there. And that's the best thing. You don't want to pull data from the database if you don't have to, because it becomes more vulnerable. So now that I know I don't have any information that I don't need with me, I put them all in user, and then I'm taking it to the wall. So if I refresh this page, it's going to the wall. Cool. So now we can do the wall part, which will be pretty quick. So first off, let's say who he is, right? Like, welcome user, and it's under session, under user, and under name, right? That's where I put the data to print his name. Well, apparently he doesn't have a name. Ah, we're not even starting session. That's probably a good thing. We don't want to destroy the session. What are we doing here? Session start. Refresh. There it is. Hello, James.
And you're able to do that only because you stored the result
Exactly.
in a session earlier.
Yep. And I just putting it, as opposed to just putting it into session, I put it into the user session, the session of
You
user.
did like session user equals result.
Exactly.
And then
Exactly.
you can call on all that.
Exactly.
And the result was an array.
Yep.
Of name and
Name, email, and ID.
So now
Yep.
you can call, okay.
So now I want to post a message. Well, actually, now I want to see all the messages shown there, right? I want to run a for loop inside of my wall so I can see everything resulting to more than just this stuff. So let's do that. So we know that the messages loop is going to start here and end here, all the way here. So I can say PHP for each. I need to pull the messages first, right? So let's run a query here. Query to equal to select all from.
You don't have
What do we do?
messages.
We hard-coded them.
Oh.
Select all from messages. This is where I got to pull all the messages to start printing one message at a time, right? That's the next step, really. There's nothing else I can do rather than just creating the loop to pull all the messages. So select all messages from, select all the columns from the messages table. That's it. I just want all the messages, right? I don't care which message it is or from who it is. Right? Do anything else? No.
So then, since we hard coded them, are we also going to see how to do it? Like,
Oh yeah,
as
we'll
non-hard-
insert it.
like actually inserting the messages to the database.
Oh yeah, we have to. But I want to first see them generated from the
Okay.
database. So I have, when I click insert a message, I can have the pleasure of seeing, hey, it's working. You got to insert it. It's there. That's
Do you find that better to
Yeah.
check, to pull first than push first?
Yeah. Yep. And that's Michael Choi had told us that just because of the factor of you just see more things get done, and you just get more. You know, really, you get excited about it because it's working. Yeah, you feel great about it, and it gets more progressively working more. So it's just the bigger the pieces you complete at the beginning, the better. You know, like you see more progress that way. Do it one way, do the other, and then you'll see the benefits. Honestly, that's really the best way to. Yeah, because if I tell you to do this way, great, but once you see it, then you'll believe it. So when I pull the database from all the records, I want to run the one that will give me back the fetch all. I need to run the fetch all records. So fetch all and run the query. And by the way, I could just do this inside of my workbench. Good Lord. Cool. It's pulling up all the messages. So I know that's going to work. So fetch all the messages and return it back to, I'm going to call the messages, the variable called messages. Seems to make sense. I'll pull the message, I'm going to call the messages. So the for each loop, it's many as one, right? So for each messages as message, right? I'm not going to, and this should start here and end right after the loop ends, right? So it should end here. I don't have to worry about if that's right or wrong because I thought about it before, so I don't have to really kind of go back and forth with this. I can just follow my notes. I'm not going to assume I know what message is at that point. I'm just going to var dump message and see what it is. And it is an error. Let's see.
You open the for each, where do you?
Here, close it there. Messages, query. So let's var dump messages here first. And then the die statement here. Say here. Let's see if it gets to that point. It's not getting to that point. So let's try it here. It's getting to this point, but it's not getting to this point. Select all from messages. That's running the right query. Connection page is connected to the right place.
So you just semicolon after messages in your.
Here?
Yeah,
No,
before
you won't need it here.
No, the closing bracket,
Where?
right after var dump. Second bottom.
Oh, you need a bracket.
sorry, I don't see- I don't see it.
You,
This guy?
you
Yeah.
have it
It's
all the
way
way
down
down.
there, right?
You would.
Yeah.
A semicolon at the end of the select statement?
At the end of this, inside the double quotes at the end of the select statement.
After select all from messages.
So you'd have two.
I don't, you don't.
This thing here?
Yeah.
That's what worked for me.
Yeah, I don't think you need that. Something else.
You
But-
could put that in your MySQL, but
I'm not getting the die statement. So if I put the die there, I'm still not getting the die statement. If I put the die here, now I'm getting the die statement.
you got
And
it
this
there.
is, yeah, this is fetch all. So let's see how fetch all works. Connection fetch all runs a query and puts them all into the database or into the record. So let's just see what.
Why does it need different?
No idea.
Well, what about that die statement up above?
Where?
Failed to connect to MySQL, isn't there's no closing parentheses above?
Oh yeah, it's close to parenthesis at the end of it, down there.
Okay.
But before we turn the data, let's see what that looks like.
Is it because do you have an include connection at the top of that page?
Yeah, that's what I was.
Well done.
Oh, Jimmy.
That seems to be the common error
This is
here.
the second time in a week that it's
Jam
Jambone. What is up over there?
I gotta
Brain power.
I gotta come back strong after yesterday.
I think you leveled up.
Sudafed and ephedrine.
Well done, sir. It's interesting. We should have known because when I var dumped here, nothing came up. So the next question is, can I var dump here? And the next question is, can I var dump up here? And if I can't, I don't see it. That means that page is not included, which is it's great. You figured it out. I don't know if you use that pattern, but you know, it's still good. Okay, cool. So it's working there. I can delete that and try step by step. Okay, here we go. So that seems to be the right pattern, right? I still have a bunch of text there, but I needed to see this repeated as many times as my messages. So I see it 1, 2, 3, 4 times in my database. I should have 4 messages. Awesome. So we're in the right pattern. So message is an array, but I need content is the content I want to print, and user ID is the ID of the message. So excuse me, the user that wrote that message, which is interesting. So I need his name too, right? Because I need to include his name here. So let's do a statement where includes messages, left join users, where, excuse me, it's on video now forever. Users dot ID is equal to messages dot user ID, right? But let's be selective at what we select. Messages.id as message ID. We don't need the user ID here, do we? We just need the message ID as well, we'll call it message ID. ID. We need the content. What else do we need? We need the
Date.
and that question is which date, right? So messages dot oops, not dot, is it? Yeah, it is. Created at. Yep. We don't need updated at. Anything else? So far so good. So let's run this. That break.
The order of the users is swapped. You might want to do users.id first and then messages.id.
Does it matter? I don't know if that matters.
Does the comma after messages in between from join,
I don't think we can. We shouldn't have one there.
No,
no,
the
order.
That definitely matters. Absolutely. Good catch.
Catch it,
Good
Jamie.
catch. Good catch. 1 to 1. Let's see. Message ID, we have it. Content, we have it. And created at is null because I have nothing in the database, but we have that. Awesome.
Can I see the
Query? Yep. Let me
Do
just.
you have to format the date within the query as well to get the times to display the same way?
No, I could just do now function, but let's just do that here. There you go. We're going to update it. Update messages set created at equal to now updated.
That's stored in the table.
Yeah. Where message.id is equal to 1.
Yeah.
I'll pull up real quick. Errors unknown messages.id. Oops, messages. Rows affected. Okay, cool. Let's just change 2. Let's change 3. Let's change 4. So now we can see dates and times. That's all I did. Okay. Now I just have to start replacing things. I know that on the var dump, I know that if I call message and I use the associative array pattern to call on message ID, I get the ID of the message. Content, I get the message itself. And created at, I get the date. And I also need to include user name, right? Oops. There's that apostrophe, the comma again. User's name. User's name, there it is, James. So at this point, we just need to replace this and this is why the echo thing would be horrible right now. Because right now all I gotta do is print here that name. So message, name. Whoops. I got really excited. James. Okay, that's another person. There's another James there. I printed again. And there's fast as well there. Fast is what it is. There's two
Is that how
fast.
it is in the database?
Yeah. We can double check.
Very similar to something that happens on Coding Dojo.
What's that on the
Repeating things like that.
just because it doesn't make sense, like the word for it?
No, I mean literally on Coding Dojo, sometimes somebody will leave a comment and it'll be there.
Oh,
multiple
yeah.
times.
Really?
Yeah, it's always repeated.
And it looks a lot like that.
Jamie, you're on here. Gaston, you're on here. Owen, right? You guys are on here now. There you go. Isn't it right? Did I spell it right?
Oh, I can't even see it. It's fine. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
G-A-S-T-O-N?
Yeah.
So, Gaston, there you are. Jamie, there you are. Gaston, there you are. And Jamie, there you are again.
Yeah.
Cool. So,
Can I ask you a question about your join?
yeah,
Is there a reason you use left join instead of inner join?
I'm used to it, to be honest with you.
Okay.
In this case, I think we should just use just join, right? It'd be the same thing.
Is left join
Well,
different than join?
because you never want to have a message, you never want to display a message that
Without-
you already have an associated user record.
That's true. So we could just change this to just join, right?
So there is a difference between left join and just straight join.
Is it just straight join?
There
I
is
say
a
inner
difference,
join.
yeah.
Inner
Inner
join,
join is
yeah.
just all the records they have in common.
Everything to everything.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
left
sure.
join would be all the messages.
Yeah.
and,
On the
like,
left side,
records.
at least.
Yeah, I mean, and that
It
shouldn't
would be all the
happen with
things
a
that don't
login,
have anything.
but
Yeah.
I guess it could.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. No, that's fine. We could just do inner join. I think it'll work either way in this case.
Real fast, can I see the rest of that query? I just
Yes.
wanted to say, but what are we joining on? Join on users.id.
On the user's ID to the messages user ID. And we'll do this in one query as well. So we'll do the messages and comments in one query as opposed to pulling it twice. Because we're going to have to do a lot of repeating queries. Oops. Okay.
And then, sorry, can you just explain that real fast?
The query?
Yeah.
So we're saying what we're going to select here. I'm specifying the ID of the message under message ID because it's pulling up two different IDs from two different tables, so it's going to override them. And I'm getting also content. That's only content on one table. Name is only a name on one table, so I don't need really users.name in this case. Messages.created@, because created at is in two tables. Both tables has created at. It's going to override it. So I need to say I need messages.created@, not just any created at, because it will override. I spent hours on that before.
So but the first one where you said select messages.id at, messages
renaming
dot, there it is. There's the
Yep,
message,
yep.
the
And
form.
and renaming it to
And
message
then
ID.
you just- And then it's joining with the.
Yeah, I didn't even have to do that. I could have just called this because it's only pulling up one record right now, and it still works. Right, this will still work great. No. Why? Oh, comma. Yeah, it's just calling it ID, but I specified only pull me the ID of that one table. But if I wanted to pull an ID for the message and the user, I need to rename them. Because if I just say messages.id, comma, users.id, it's going to override those two IDs. Because what it's bringing back is literally just ID. Yeah. So this is going to be pretty simple and quick. All I got to do here is again do the whole print, message, content. And then here, I can change the format with a date function. Shall we do it? Yeah, we'll do it. Why not? Let's echo out the date function of year. Is it year, month, date of the message created? I could have just put there create. I could have just put there this, but I'm running a function that's going to convert this into YMD, year, month, date. It should work. Not sure. Yeah. No. Yeah. There it is. Year, month, date.
Pretty close.
Pretty close. Yeah.
1970. So
Ooh.
Tim ran into this too.
Yeah.
And we couldn't figure out, I mean, I think he eventually did, but why it is before the existed.
That's what
Yeah.
I want. That's why.
Try year
Oh yeah, the dates are coming back the right way. The problem is on the date thing here, right? Let's just double check. Yeah. So
So it's in the formatting.
of dates function.
Yeah.
So we won't. We can mess around with it towards the end, but that shouldn't be a
I
big
think
deal.
years at the end of the dates function.
Perhaps. Cool. So we got that part. It's kind of small messages, and that's why it's small in size. But we no longer need to var dump that anymore. So we have the messages. Now we just need to fill in the comments. And within each message loop, I can generate its own comment query to pull each single comment set of comments for each one message, right? So here, there's many ways we can do this. We can run one query for all of it. We can run two queries for all of it, or we can run like one query plus as many messages query, right? So the simplest way to do this is inside of this single message in my comments, just before I add the comments in my loop here, I can open PHP tags and say the query is equal to select comments.id, comments.content, let's be more specific, and users.name, and comments.createdAt, right? So we have name, created at, content, and ID. Select all of this from comments.
Is that good practice to always use a longer, just referencing the database tables by the longer name, just so you're clear?
That's not, in this case, it's not a bad idea, just so I don't get confused. Yeah. Left join or inner join. I want to inner join users on the condition of users.id is equal to comments.userID. We're not going to mess around. We're just going to echo that thing and just see it. Copy this thing, go to SQL, execute it. Ooh. Two records returned. I don't know where they went, but SQL does that once in a while, or Workbench does that once in a while. It doesn't show you what it pulls up, but in the bottom here it tells me that it pulled two records, so I have the right query running. Okay, so since this query will pull me all of the comments, but I don't want all the comments. I want all the comments where the message ID matches the current message I'm on, right? Because comments table has in it also the message ID. Which message does this comment belong to? So here I can say where the comments dot message ID is equal to this unique message's ID, right? Because this is a loop. Message number 1, message number 2, message number 3. So every time I run this query, I want to say, find me wherever they link, but only pull me up all the comments that are matching this message, the message I'm on right now. And in the second loop, if this message has any comments, give me those. In the next loop, if the third message has any comments, meaning that if the third message has comments that have message ID of 3, pull me those records. And that's what I'm doing back here. Say where comments, message ID is equal to that. And that is a number, so I don't need the single quotes. We just need to call on the message and call on that ID of the message, right? So let's try. The same thing as far as the query. In this case, it's comments is equal to fetch all. The
Hey,
query.
you want to save that video now